Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're totally tearing down a massive misconception when it comes to building wealth. Because, most people think achieving early financial freedom is just a math problem. Just crunch the numbers, right? But as we're going to see through some incredible insights from financial expert Brian Tracy and early retiree Gabe Bolt, it's actually a profound psychological challenge. The numbers? They're completely secondary. The real game here is entirely about mental preparation, intense self-discipline, and finding a crystal clear motivation. So let's dive right in. Brian Tracy really hit the nail on the head with this idea. The greatest single source of wealth is right there between your ears. He argues that the primary reason people struggle financially isn't necessarily the size of their paycheck. Actually, it's a lack of self-mastery. Before you even bother looking at your bank account, you have to mentally prepare yourself. You have to actively eliminate those deeply ingrained negative beliefs, like the old cliche that money is somehow evil. Because here's the truth, if your mindset is working against you, your wallet is absolutely going to follow suit. And Gabe Bolt, he takes this idea of mental preparation to an absolute extreme. Gabe actually left his day job at just 24 years old, and he says the very first non-negotiable step is that you have to literally brainwash yourself into believing early financial freedom is even possible. I mean, society's default narrative constantly tells you it's not, right? So to counter that noise, Bolt completely immersed his mind. We're talking reading a financial book every single week and listening to podcasts daily, just pounding it into his head until reaching independence felt entirely normal. Now, once you finally believe it's possible, you have to look at the stark trade-off sitting right in front of you. Society just accepts it as perfectly normal to give 40 years of your life to a job you likely don't even enjoy. That's that daunting 40-year traditional grind, basically working to make someone else's dreams come true. But Bolt contrasts this normal grind with an alternative, a highly concentrated 3 to 5 year window of extreme sacrifice. The idea is simple. You front-load all the discomfort now in exchange for decades of lifelong freedom later. But here's the catch. Choosing that level of extreme discomfort requires a serious emotional anchor. You have to ask yourself, what is your true why? Because when you're in year 1 or year 3 of intense, grinding sacrifice, those safe, comfortable chains of a 9 to 5 are going to look really, really appealing. If you don't have absolute, crystal clarity on why you're putting yourself through this pain, you will absolutely fold and revert right back to comfort. So what does that motivation actually look like? Well, your why usually comes in 2 flavors, what you're running toward and what you're running away from. For Bolt, he was running toward having all the time in the world with his kids and being able to travel for a month every year. But you know what was equally powerful? What he was running away from, which for him was cleaning office buildings. Knowing that he'd rather do literally almost anything else than clean cubicles for 40 years gave him this incredible mental drive. It made it easy to say no to eating out and yes to his ultimate freedom. Once people get that motivation locked in, they usually look straight at the traditional FIRE movement. Financial independence, retire early. And the standard goal there is to save 25 times your annual expenses, which usually spits out a massive number, like $1.2 million. Let's be real, for someone in their 20s making an average income, saving over $1 million feels completely overwhelming. It could take 20 years of aggressive saving. And if your main goal is to escape a job you hate, waiting 20 years is just way too long. This is exactly why Bolt totally demystifies the goal by introducing what he calls the freedom number. Instead of aiming for this massive, multi-million-dollar nest egg that feels impossible, you just shift the goalpost. It's really simple. You hit your freedom number when your monthly active and passive income simply exceeds your basic monthly expenses. Think about it. If your basic expenses are $5,000 a month, your highly tangible goal is just to build income streams that generate $5,000. This one mindset shift takes your timeline from 20 grueling years down to just 3 to 5. But how do you make that target even easier to hit? You lower the hurdle. You have to zero in on just the basic monthly essentials: housing, food, transportation, and insurance. Your freedom number should absolutely not include your daily Starbucks habit or random Amazon splurges. If you can radically slash these core expenses, say dropping what you need to survive from $8,000 down to $4,000 a month, you literally shave years off your timeline. The math behind it is simple. It's the daily discipline required that's immense. Let's break down what this actual timeline of sacrifice looks like in the real world. Step 1, slash those costs. Bolt literally house-hacked a multifamily property in a sketchy neighborhood just so he could live for free. He drove a $5,000 beater car and batch-cooked the cheapest chicken breasts he could find for 3 straight years. Step 2, while he was slashing those costs, he spent his nights and weekends working completely unpaid to learn new skills. And that leads to step 3, compounding. It's the ultimate lesson in front-loading extreme discomfort so your returns can just compound exponentially over time. Now, while you're lowering your expenses, you obviously need to build your income, but you have to be super careful here. Think about income ceilings. If you pick up an hourly side hustle, like say driving for Uber Eats, you immediately hit a hard cap. You are just trading your time for money, and there are only so many hours in a day. Instead, you've got to focus on the path with an unlocked ceiling, building a scalable skill. Sure, you might work for an entire year making absolutely $0, but eventually that income can compound and scale without requiring more of your physical time. And this directly mirrors Brian Tracy's advice on the absolute necessity of mental focus. Tracy states that you must concentrate single-mindedly on the most valuable use of your time. This principle right here, this relentless concentration, is the habit that secures financial success more than anything else. You have to constantly align your daily actions directly with your financial goals, ruthlessly avoid distractions, and just lock in on building those highly valuable, scalable skills. So, what are we talking about when we say valuable, scalable skills? Well, Bolt points to remote skills you can do right from your laptop. Things like building a YouTube channel or a personal brand, copywriting, script writing, or channel management. He emphasizes picking a skill that actually aligns with your natural strengths while avoiding your weaknesses. For example, he talks about a friend who wanted to reach financial freedom by cutting hair. Now, hair cutting is great, but it physically requires your presence. If you want to travel, your income stops. And if you try to scale it, well, now you end up managing a bunch of other barbers. And maybe you hate managing people. Remote laptop skills offer infinite upside, the freedom to travel, and you don't necessarily have to deal with managing a massive team. But hey, knowing what to do and actually doing it are two entirely different things. Gabe Bolt is pretty blunt about this. Taking no action literally guarantees that you'll work 40 years to have absolutely no money at the end. Escaping that default path requires a deliberate, and let's face it, often painful choice to step way out of your comfort zone. If you choose comfort right now, you are sacrificing your freedom later. You basically have to look in the mirror and decide that the average outcome is simply not going to happen to you. Okay, so how do you actually maintain this crazy level of extreme discipline day after day? Brian Tracy offers some highly practical daily habits for this mental execution. First up, morning goals. You should rewrite and review your financial goals on paper every single morning. Second, night planning. Plan out your next day in advance to give yourself razor-sharp self-control. And finally, self-analysis. After every important event or task, ask yourself, what did I do right and what would I do differently? Tracy points out that this immediate kind of analysis can literally double the speed at which you grow. Which brings us to the absolute most critical action step of all. You have to break the cycle of endless learning. You know, so many people watch explainer after explainer, read book after book, but they never implement a single thing. You have to stop just learning and start doing. Before Bolt found success with YouTube, he tried blogging, he tried podcasting, he tried real estate. You might literally have to try 10 different things for 3 to 6 months each before one finally sticks. But listen, if you never take that first step, you are never going to find your path. To wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with the exact same provocative question Brian Tracy uses to really force his audience into mental preparation. As you've seen, wealth is largely a psychological game. It requires profound belief, immense sacrifice, and relentless daily discipline. The blueprint is sitting right in front of you, but the execution, that is entirely up to you. So I want you to ask yourself right now and be brutally honest. What are your financial goals? Internalize that, figure out your why, and go take action.